In 1833, General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna gained control of the Mexican government. He ruled with an iron fist, which 3 years later he took north from Mexico City to Texas, where the mostly Anglo settlers were in rebellion. In 1836, he confronted the pack of rebels who defended the Alamo, a former Franciscan mission at the outskirts of San Antonio de Bejar. The Texans who defended the modest garrison there could not win against the overwhelming forces leveled against them, nor would they surrender. To the last man, they took their stand for independence. In 1821, after 11 years of struggle with Imperial Spain, Mexico declared independence. 3 years later, a constitution was ratified. Mexico was now a republic. As part of its effort to buffer its northern region from fierce attacks by Comanche and Apache warriors, the government encouraged Anglos to emigrate to Texas. At the time, it was part of the state of Coahuila y Tejas. In 1820, Spain had given Moses Austin a land grant to settle Texas. He died in June 1821, just months before Mexico won her independence from Spain. His son, Stephen Austin, often called the father of Texas, took over the land grant and managed the original settlers who began arriving in 1821. They were called the Old 300. The American settlers were of English descent and immigrated mainly from west of the Appalachians. Most of the new Texans received large tracts of land along the Brazos River. Many owned slaves, which would become problematic for Mexico, especially when the country became a republic. The new Texans were largely left alone by the federal government. In 1830, however, Mexico banned any further immigration from the U.S. into Texas and any further importation of slaves. After General Santa Anna was elected president in 1833, he disrupted the republic. Congress was dissolved, the Constitution replaced, government was centralized. All Mexican states were demoted to departments. Coahuila y Tejas was divided into 2 departments. The Texan colonists responded by rebelling. In late 1835, following a consultation in San Felipe de Tejas, the Texans issued a declaration. The good people of Texas, availing themselves of their natural rights, solemnly declare that they have taken up arms in defense of their rights and liberties, which are threatened by the encroachments of military despots, and in defense of the republican principles of the Federal Constitution of Mexico of 1824. In November 1835, Santa Anna moved north with an army of 6,000 Mexican soldiers. His intent? To end the Texas Rebellion. From Presidio del Rio Grande, Santa Anna marched the main body of his forces 400 miles east to San Antonio de Bejar. The former mission turned garrison was under the command of William Barrett Travis. In 1836, the provisional governor of Texas, Henry Smith, had ordered Travis to the Alamo. He arrived with 30 men and assumed command of the regulars. Jim Bowie was there when Travis arrived. He was already famous for the knife named after him, although it was designed by Jim's brother, Resin P. Bowie. Before the battle, he commanded the Alamo's volunteer soldiers. During the battle, however, he was confined to bed, likely with pneumonia. Travis assumed full command. There were approximately 150 men, a mix of settlers from the east, Europeans, and Tejanos, or Spanish-speaking Texans. Among the defenders was the storied frontiersman Davy Crockett. Having lost re-election over his opposition to the Indian Removal Act, Crockett left his home state in Tennessee. After a bitter break with fellow Tennessean Andrew Jackson, Crockett left for Texas to join the Revolution. In late February 1836, Santa Anna's army arrived. For 2 weeks they besieged and bombarded the garrison. In response to a call for the Texans to surrender, Colonel Travis ordered a cannon shot and the flag to remain in place above the battered walls. On March 2nd, Texas declared independence from Mexico. On March 6th, Santa Anna's troops launched a full-scale attack just before dawn. Never surrendering, the Texans fought to the last man. The battle lasted about 90 minutes. All of the Alamo's defenders were killed. At Santa Anna's orders, their bodies were stacked and burned, with one exception, the brother of a Mexican officer. We end this episode with one final story from the Alamo. On February 24, 1836, the day after the Mexican army began its siege, Colonel Travis wrote a letter, an appeal for reinforcements. On horseback, Albert Martin carried the letter under the dark of night through the Mexican lines to Gonzalez. From there, it was to be delivered to San Felipe de Austin, where copies were made and distributed to newspapers. On March 1st, 32 Texas militiamen from the Gonzalez Ranger Company slipped through the enemy line. They were the only Texans to arrive before the final assault. Their numbers brought the defenders to about 182 men. Our story ends with a few lines from the Travis letter, the most famous letter in the history of Texas. I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and of everything dear to the American character, to come to our aid with all dispatch. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and that of his country. Victory or death. William Barrett Travis.